Welcome to Vibrant Living Conversations. I'm your host, Gemma Putty. As a life coach to midlife mamas and women, I'm excited to bring these conversations from North Idaho and across this region to support you on your journey to vibrant living, glowing from the inside out, fully living in your own true to you power. For this interview, I am talking with Shayleen Paul, reflexologist and owner of Serenity. I'm thrilled to have her here today to learn more about reflexology as a source of holistic healing. So welcome, Shayleen. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Let's dive in. What is your elevator description of reflexology?
Okay, my elevator description of reflexology is I'm looking for the buildup of uric acid in the body. So we all develop toxins, right, through different sources, whether it's emotional stress, physical, foods that we eat that we shouldn't eat, drinks that we drink that we shouldn't drink. And then we have this overdevelopment of toxins, and the body can excrete some of them naturally, but some travel, and thanks to gravity, they travel right to the feet, specifically the hands and feet, although we have reflex points all over the body. So my goal as a reflexologist is to find that uric acid, and through hands technique, thumbs and fingers primarily, I want to break up that uric acid in the body, and then, the client flushes it, and that's, the elevator. I also feel like a huge part of reflexology that I don't know that I realized until I started doing it and had a few years under my belt is the, relaxation, the moving, shifting the body from that fight or flight that we're always living in to rest and digest. Because by design, when we are in a state of rest and digest, we're set to reboot. We're set to heal. It's just that we don't always allow ourselves to do that. And so I feel like a major part of what I do is just enabling a person to come in, rest, digest, and then we work through, removing and acknowledging that there's some toxic buildup in the body, in the specific organs. So as I'm working, it's sending signals from the nerves of the feet. We have over 2,000 nerves in our feet, sending signals to those nerves in the corresponding organs, glands, and parts of the body, saying, hey, rise up, do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, so I love it. Now, do you have many clients that come to you and fully understand what you do, or do you have to explain that quite a bit?
Most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, I kind of have to explain what I do. It's not very common anymore. We just don't find a lot of people that use this healing modality. And so I find though, most people have seen a reflexology, a foot chart. They've seen the chart, but it was just kind of like, yeah, that's there. And it wasn't, there's a method here to this, and I can use it to bring healing to my body.
Yeah. Well, and that was me. I'd seen the charts for years of hands and feet and just thought it was so amazing and powerful that they are that connection from our hands and feet to our entire body. So when I was recommended you by our mutual friend Heidi, and when she told me she's local here in town, I was like, yes, I get to experience this, because I just find that with so many things, doctors, holistic practitioners, it's hard for them to pinpoint exactly back to the exact organ or part of the body that is under the stress. And with you were literally going through my feet and being like, this is this, this is this, this is this, and telling me whether it was doing okay, needing a little bit of love, which was just so amazingly powerful.
And fascinating. Cool. Yeah. So I've been doing this.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've been doing this for 8 years, and I still will have those powerful moments, those aha moments where it's like, oh my goodness. It's exciting to enlighten my clients, and then also to just feel like I'm encouraging them on the right path.
For sure. For you to be able to literally pinpoint, like, this organ is under some stress, or this hormone, or this, I guess it wasn't hormone, but different thyroid is what I was trying to get at, or whatever it is. there's just not is there anything that you can think of that even comes close to reflexology and being able to literally pinpoint the organ in the body?
Not that I have experienced.
Yeah,
So
same.
oftentimes reflexology is likened to massage, only it's a massage to the internal organs. And so I have not found anything. I mean, the closest would be acupuncture, where,
Yeah,
specifically Heidi
right.
can tell me, oh, it looks like you've got some imbalance going on in your bladder, or,
Mhm.
by looking at my tongue,
Right.
diagnosed that way. But that's probably the closest that I've come to something like reflexology, where it's navigating that.
Yeah, so powerful. So let's
Yeah.
get into how you got into reflexology, your story, and yeah, your adventure to being here.
So I kind of went into it kicking and screaming, because the idea of touching someone's feet all day was, oh, thank you. I'm not interested. But at the time, I was working for a friend at her holistic spa. And we were doing what we would call trauma release, where, clients would come in and we would pray over them and acknowledge the imbalances in the energy center of their body, centers. And so I would always gravitate towards their feet. And so after, I don't know, probably 6 months of that or so, she said, "Hey, Shayleen, I really think you would do well doing reflexology." And I had experienced it personally and found it intriguing, but definitely not something that I was interested in moving into. And so I kind of drug my feet a little bit and said, I just don't think that that's something that I would like to do. And she said, I'll tell you what, I will pay for a portion of your class. That's how strongly I believe in this. And I thought, okay, if she believes in it, she's seeing something that I'm not. And so at that time, I was just getting out of teaching. And so I was looking for something. And I took the first phase of training through the International Institute of Reflexology.
Okay.
And I was hooked. I was hooked from that point on. It was just, it it felt like I was ministering to people, and that I was being a blessing. And it just, there's no greater feeling than to honor someone where they're at in life and encourage them in the way to move forward. And so I did the first phase of training, and you have to, I believe it's 100 hours of hands-on work
Okay.
until you can start phase two, and then another additional 100 hours, and then phase three. And so and my girlfriend that owned the holistic spa, she didn't just, I would have drugged my feet, because if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it. So she just started booking clients, her clients, and putting them in my books. And I kind of dove in and started dog paddling, and then feeling like I was swimming. And then now I feel like a duck in water now.
I love it.
And to be there. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So with the clients that were first coming to you, were there, did you find like a trend? Were they dealing with pains, or was it more they were at their end of their ropes with like Western medicine and they're like, give me something new? Or was there a trend in the people that were coming to you and seeking out like an alternative that they really weren't 100% sure of what it even was?
To be honest with you, I think that first wave of clients it was born from a place of curiosity. And
Cool.
the,
Love
the
that.
the gal that owned the holistic spa that I was working at, she had built a trust relationship with them, and so she was sharing what was
Love that.
happening, was transpiring. And so I think some of them, it was born from a place of curiosity. But then once I'd get them onto the table and we'd start working through things, then it was, transitioned into, oh my gosh, this is so helpful, and what an asset it is to my journey to health. So that was the initial wave. Then I started working with a chiropractor,
Okay.
and I think that most of his patients come to me from his recommendation for pain. He refers me for pain in the hands, feet, and part of reflexology is working the reflex points, but also just bringing good blood circulation to the areas of the body. And so oftentimes that's the feet. Now, is it always uric acid development? Not always. Sometimes there's been bunionectomies and plantar fasciitis, some other foot pain issues. And so, but once they come in and see the overall health benefits of it, then they kind of get hooked, just like I am. And they're interested in, and we, I don't diagnose, but we just bring awareness to that area of the body. Say if it's the adrenal glands. So then my clients get real excited to come back. And so how are my adrenal glands doing? And so, yeah. And then yes, I do say I would have a handful of clients that they were at their wit's end. I don't know what else to do. And so can you help me?
Yeah, fascinating. Can you speak a little bit to the history of reflexology? Because I know it goes back a long, long time.
Yes. So where I was trained was through the International Institute of Reflexology, Eunice Ingham. And she was we call her the mother of reflexology, because we see in hieroglyphics that the Egyptians were working on hands and feet clear back, that many years ago. But it wasn't until Eunice picked it back up and she developed the International Institute of Reflexology, the foot chart. She was working with a zone doctor. And so, gosh, I can't, I really don't want to say what year, because I just can't think. I want to say
You're fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember, but she was the original, founding mother of what we use as reflexology to date.
I love that. Well, and I think for me, things that have been planted from Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, that have existed for so many zillions of years. I have no idea. All of them are different, obviously, but it just says something to me that it has been founded so long ago by Egyptians, by whoever. It just says something to me that I'm I want to know more. It's fascinating. It so often is very holistic in looking at the whole body, not looking specifically at one organ or whatever. I just think there's something so beautiful about that.
And that it has stood the test of time.
Well said. Well said. Yes, exactly. Right. And it also, and it doesn't involve toxins. I think I'm not going to get on the bandwagon about it, but I just think so much about today's medicine includes not getting to the cause of the problem and just masking it with chemicals. And I don't believe in that, which is why I'm on this mission and just love finding people such as yourself and Heidi. And
chemicals that often have negative side effects that then we've just opened Pandora's box. And addressing the root and bringing healing to that area. We've just, like you said, bandaged it and then made a bigger mess, in my opinion.
Agreed.
We have to deal with.
Yeah. Well, I know your practice too. When I came to see you, you had tuning forks, you had essential oils. You make it such a holistic experience, even more so than it already is, by these other elements. Will you talk a little bit about those?
Yes, actually, when you were talking about, history, and I was thinking about essential oils, and I call them God's miracle molecules, because I get to see so many immediate results with just applying essential oils. So I do incorporate essential oils in my treatments. And the first one, I massage your scalp. I don't know if you remember, I massage your scalp. And then that one, I just feel it's whatever God wants to bless you with that day, so that you leave vibrating and just glowing, living life to the fullness. And then moving towards the hands and the feet, I use the ones that I feel where you're most imbalanced. So in other words, if you've got stagnant energy or buildup uric acid in the urinary tract system, then I will use something like juniper berry and apply it to those reflex points. If I feel like it's something in the brain, then I'll use something like frankincense or patchouli, brain body connect. I do find that a lot of my clients that come in, because of our culture and just busyness life, we're disconnected from our body. And So we're living life and we're moving forward, but not as our highest potential because there's a disconnect. So oftentimes I'll find that there's imbalance in the brain, and I'll use patchouli to bring that connection of brain and body. And then, in the urinary tract system, or excuse me, digestive system, then I'll use a digestive blend or fennel or something like that. And then the tuning forks, it was really exciting. The first tuning fork I ever had, well, I got to experience tuning at the holistic spa I worked at. And what I discovered was, for one, what I received from it. I did leave feeling through, those tuning sessions that I was it elevated my vibrations. And so that was intriguing to me. And then she had an ohm weighted tuning fork, and she let me play around with it. And what I would see happen when I would use those vibrations from the ohm tuner is there was an almost immediate reaction in the body, a healthy reaction where that stagnant energy would move. And so then I ended up purchasing the spectrum of them so that I could use them where the correlating energy centers are. And so I use them for healing, vibrational healing, and then the sound healing as well. So applying them to the specific reflex points in the areas of the body where there's imbalance.
And tuning forks. So if someone's new to what even tuning forks is, will you even just dive into that just a little bit? Because I'm sure there's people that are like, I don't know. Is she cooking while she's like, I don't know. I don't know.
And what's a fork? Yeah. No, it is sound healing. And this is where I can get super excited too about, I just love all these things.
I know,
but
right?
I'm reading a really good book called The Healing of Sound.
Okay.
And everything is vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these vibrations, when we listen to specific frequencies, there was this study in this book I was reading where the heart vibrates at 7.8 hertz. Now we can study these things through science, and what used to be this quantum physics and out there kind of thing has now become tangible in science. And so I love when science backs what we've known in our soul and spirit, but now there's proof to it. So our hearts vibrate at 7.8 hertz. Our brains vibrate at 7.8 hertz. And the ohm frequency, which is Earth's frequency, is 7.8 hertz. So when we listen to the sound of the Earth's vibration, I don't know if you've ever been out hiking or just kind of out where there's no gray noise, and you can I can hear the buzzing of it. It's like it almost sounds like it's electric wires above you or something, but there's sound that you can hear if you just are settled. And what we do know is that, again, through science studies, that when we listen to nature sounds, it decreases our stress by 25% at the very least. So when, crickets are chirping, or we're listening to water over the rocks or waves over in the ocean, it's healing to our body. And so what tuning forks do are bring in that sound healing, and again, specific frequencies. So the Oot tuner is healing to the root energy center. So there's specific frequencies, and those frequencies are healing to the specific organs / energy centers of the body. And so again, like the 7.8 hertz, when you listen to the ohm tuner, or when apply the ohm tuner, along the spine, it's elevating your vibration to what it's supposed to be, which is at 7.8 hertz.
So when we're stressed out, does the hertz of like our heart and our brain, do they lower, or do they get out of whack, or how does it
usually is lower. So we all vibrate at 66 megahertz. Every human vibrates at 66 megahertz through stress, lack of sleep, emotional stressors, right? Those things that we know you can feel, or at least I feel when my vibration is low. It's kind of that dragging, moving forward. I can't open my eyes. I can't put one foot in front of the other. I just can't keep going. That's when we've decreased our vibration. So when we get to, 60 megahertz, or then we're susceptible to colds and viruses. As our vibrations get lower, we're then vulnerable to cancers and dis-ease in the body. So basically that's, when we talk about disease such as cancers and
Yeah.
diabetes and those, long-term illnesses, diseases in the body, it's the body's lack of ease. We're not living in ease, right? And
Yeah.
so that means we've just lowered our vibrations to the point where our immune systems couldn't support what they needed to. And so by elevating the frequency in our body through, it's not just tuning forks, the foods that we eat, when we eat the
Right.
spectrum, all the fruits and vegetables that has been created for us to bring healing to our body. Blueberries are the highest vibrational fruit when we eat
Oh,
blueberries. Isn't that
that's why I
interesting?
love them.
But yeah,
Yeah.
right. In our house, my boys, I would tell them they were brain berries because they're healing to the brain.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of things that we can do when we spend time in nature. It elevates our vibrations when we hike, and all those
Yeah.
things that bring healing to us elevate our vibrations. So
Which
it's
is
just
funny,
incorporating the tuning forks is just increasing your vibrations.
supporting
Essential
that.
oils
And
do the same thing.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny because I talk about low vibe and high vibe all the time, but I've never actually stopped to think about that in all of the things that you just talked about, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting
hmm
back up to that high vibration. And I think we even talked about me being obsessed with the chakras, and each of the chakras resonates at a different frequency as well. So like you saying you have the different tuning forks, you have different tuning forks that can align with the different frequencies that are going on in their body to heal, not necessarily just the heart and the brain, but other aspects that radiate at different
Right.
frequencies, right?
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
And it's super interesting. What I really love about reflexology is, like you said, you can kind of pinpoint where there's imbalance in the body. So if I find that there's imbalance in the throat, esophagus, thyroid, reflex points, then I know to use the frequency, the tuning fork, the essential oils that are healing to that area of the body. And not just, we know because of life that emotions manifest on the physical body.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, it isn't that your thyroid is way out of whack as much as your throat energy, you're feeling suppressed in communication, or, your heart is broken, and it's not a physical broken, but it's an emotional.
Right.
And so that's where the tuning forks come in. It doesn't matter whether it's a physical, lowering of the vibrations, but the bottom line is you're imbalanced in that area. And we just want to bring you as close to homeostasis or balance as we can.
I love that so much. And I think that is even such a holistic when we're not just even talking physical anymore. We're talking, it doesn't matter if it's your literal heart is having troubles beating or whatever, but whether it's broken or whether there's some emotional
Yeah.
thing that you haven't healed from in your childhood, like no matter what it is, you're able to support it in healing from getting rid of the uric acid, from using the tuning forks to energetically support it, and using the essential oils to energetically support it and physically heal it. So it's just you're getting all the facets. It doesn't
Mhm. Mhm.
matter whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever it is, you're able to like get in there.
Yes. And that's when I get really excited.
Yes. Well, one of my questions that I had for you was how does this fit in with Western lifestyles? Which is just really hilarious because, like we've already talked about, the lives that we are living now are insanity, right? Like there's
Mhm.
so much going on. There's so many electronics distracting us. We're so disconnected from our bodies because that's what we're taught in culture is that our body is something that is supposed to be a certain size and is supposed to be blah, 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 and energetic all the time. We're just not tuned to like tune into her and love her. And right. So really, it seems that anybody could come and see you and could, even if their goal was to find balance and
Yeah.
de-stress, would you say that?
Yeah. Yes. And I would say that anyone could come to me that's looking for an awareness. of their bodies. So, you, for instance, or my mom, you are a healthy individual, body, soul, spirit. It's what you strive for. And,
Yeah.
but to just come and embrace that. I read a really good book last year called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And in the Western culture, we are like, go, go, go. It's that fight or flight all the time, all the time. And unfortunately, we have where it's, double income and it's really required. And so,
Right.
it's just we're working, we're just busy, 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 being moms, wives, just friend, daughter. It's just we're busy. And
Right.
so, we need these moments. In this book, he talked about our cell phones. Like sometimes we have these glitches in our cell phones where they just quit working and are acting up. And if we just do a hard shutdown on our cell phone, oftentimes it just reboots itself and we don't have to take it to Verizon or anywhere else to be fixed. It just needed a hard shutdown. And I feel like with reflexology, oftentimes that's what it is. It's taking, an hour of your day for a hard shutdown where you just let go of the things that are, just clamoring at your attention, and where your body gets pushed to the side, those physical, I'd say warning lights, red, flashing on the dash. Hey, the check engine light is on. Hey, you need to get your oil changed. Like we're really good about, okay, later. Okay, once I get dinner made, once I get the kids tucked in bed, and then, we just get on our phones and scroll and, those things that we're not doing, which is like healing, self-care. Oftentimes we think of self-care, it's checking out, but really it's being intentional about caring for the body that we've been given. And if we don't, then it manifests and presents itself with those morning and check engine lights that we ignore, and it's this vicious cycle. So I do feel like anyone could come to me, even that healthy person that's like, this is what I'm striving for. This is just another modality for me to bring awareness to my body, to have a hard shutdown, to shift into rest and digest. Just
Oh, I
honor.
love that so much. Yeah. And I love that you saying we feel like we need to check out, but really it's a matter of in those moments checking in with ourselves, right? Like, oh, I
Yes.
was thinking last night as I was getting like spam text messages, and like it just hit me really hard that now there are literally no boundary. It's like text messages aren't private, emails aren't private, right? Where everything is it like you feel like you're about to be spammed in any given moment, right? Like now work hours aren't 8 to 5. You could work around the clock. Like news cycle is around the clock.
Yep.
There literally is bombardment in everything. There's no like, unless you move to Timbuktu, right?
Yeah.
Which most people just doesn't make sense. But I was just really sad in that moment of being like, this culture that we're creating is so invasive and heavy and constant, and we have to carve out these times to stop, to quiet ourselves, whether it's meditation,
Yes.
prayer,
Yes.
seeing acupuncturist, seeing whatever your way is, but we have to do it for ourselves, because otherwise we're just the weight of all of the things. Of course it's eating us alive from the inside out, because
Yeah.
how can anyone, it's just not sustainable.
No.
Ugh.
No. No. And I was reading an article. I can't remember where I read it, but I want to say it's like every 6 seconds when we're scrolling through social media, it's like every 3 to 6 seconds, there's a new emotion that we're feeling, whether it's, joy in seeing a family member that was tremendously blessed, or sorrow when we see this child who's suffering from an illness, or, it's this constant bombardment, or something, political that upsets us and enrages us. So it's not even just our world that we're living in, but we're so connected to this huge world outside that our bodies are just inundated. And
Yeah.
so even our checking outs, it's not really a checking out, because our emotions are still roller coastering and just being filled with stuff.
And that checking out so often includes over consuming something,
Yeah.
right? Like, right. And I am also the queen of it, but it's like whether it's TV or food
Yes.
or drink or exercise, like
Yeah.
it's not a healthy checking out. It's just a like numbing,
Yeah.
really.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Another bandit. Mhm.
Yeah. So let's talk about the beautiful experience that people have when they come to see you. If someone comes to like, I actually am curious about this. What can they expect when they come to see you?
Basically, we kind of just did a little bit of a touching on it. I usually will start with an explanation of what I'm about to do, because then there's no unrealistic expectations or unmet expectations when someone leaves. They're understanding what is about to happen. I also want to honor you. And so one of my favorite things to do is to address any emotional issues that we're having. So we have specific emotions that manifest or present on the physical body.
Right.
So in other words, when we get a lump in our throat, it's an emotion. We feel like crying, whether it's joy, whether it's contentment, or whether it's sorrow. There's this lump that develops. It's an emotion,
Right.
but we feel it manifest and present on the physical body, right? And
Yeah.
so one of my favorite things to incorporate is the emotional aspect of reflexology, the emotional aspect of bringing awareness to the body. So I usually ask if that's something that the client is interested. Oftentimes they're not ready. They're not in that place to receive. So we kind of start with just a conversation of what to expect and what they're wanting from the session.
Right.
Usually it's an intake form that kind of describes what's going on in the body. It's really interesting. A lot of clients show up and they're like, I don't really want to fill out because I want to see what you find.
They're like testing you.
You're gonna tell me. And it's like testing the reflexologist, in which I'm totally okay with. And usually we navigate through that. But there's usually an explanation and a question, Q&A, kind of what their expectations are. And then we use, like I said, the essential oils and the tuning forks. And
Right.
I massage the scalp and the ears. So you have reflex points in your ears. And then I move to the hands and the feet. And then at that point, I wrap your feet in warm towels, put cold stones between your toes, that vasodilating, vasoconstricting, bringing good blood flow. That's what we're looking for. And at that time, then I will have the client listen to 2 tuning forks. The first one being the Ohm, which is the 7.8 hertz that we talked about, the Earth's vibration. It's a very grounding sound, very grounding vibration. And then the Gamma tuning fork, which is increases the gamma waves of the brain. The best way we increase the gamma waves of the brain is through prayer, meditation, worship, checking out. When we increase the gamma waves of the brain, it aids in cognitive function, right brain, left brain connectivity. And so I feel like it's a grounding and then an uplifting, the tuning forks are. And so it's that goal to bring you into homeostasis. So as your feet are wrapped in these warm towels, then I have you listen to those tuning forks. Okay. And then move right back into the feet and then go through. And usually on a first session, it's kind of more of a, let's investigate, let's explore, let's see what's going on. And then it gives us a good sense of, where the imbalance is in the body. I find that either I'm confirming what you already know. Yes, I know I always have trouble with my bladder, or yeah, my kidneys have been giving me a fit. So we're either confirming that, and then through reflexology, sending signals, right? Breaking up the acid, sending signals to those nerves, saying, hey, do your job. Or we're acknowledging something that the client hasn't been able to pinpoint.
Yeah. And then the whole time people are lying, like I was lying on your massage table, right? So it's similar to getting a massage, but you're on your back the whole time, all cozy. Mm-hmm. Yes. So good.
Yes. Heated bed.
Yes, exactly. You just take a nap, but if you're not yakking the whole time to you. Sometimes loving. Sometimes right? Like a whole different kind of therapy, just talking to you about all of the life.
Yes. And what's going on in your body and how we can bring that to it. Yeah.
Totally. And I loved how you did communicate with me about what was going on, because I've also experienced different therapists that don't. And I know some people don't want to know. Some people are like, just do your thing. I don't want to take ownership of this. I want to know, tell me, right? So I can, if I don't know, how can I make the changes in my life? Is my personal opinion. I'm curious, when you're feeling the feet and you're doing the uric acid massage, what are you feeling? And then from the client side, is it more painful? It was more painful for me, right? When the uric acid is more built up.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm feeling, I think the best description for that is it feels a little bit like rice granules or tapioca pudding. So as I hit kind of through the small intestine, it'll kind of just this kind of crunchy feeling to me.
Yeah.
What that can feel like to you is you can either feel that kind of crunchiness,
Right.
or it's kind of painful. And with all of my clients, I want it to be a good experience, and I want their bodies to shift into the rest and digest state. And so I want it to be that Goldilocks just right pressure. So I don't want my pressure to be so hard that you're like, that was excruciating. Please don't ever touch my feet again. And also I couldn't walk for 3 days after I left you. I want it to be that just right, where it wasn't a glorified foot massage. Like we came to that place where we understood what was going on in the body. We felt the uric acid. You felt it. I felt it. Sometimes it just feels like just some discomfort. It's not usually ever very painful. It's discomfort. You're like, oh, yep, that's what's going on. And I find when I'm working with a client and they feel that, they're like, where are you at? What are you working? Because that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, it's an awareness to them, like, ooh, that was a tender spot. What I find very interesting is when a client comes in with foot pain that they're attributing to some, maybe it's a bunion, or they feel like they've got some calluses that need worked over. And so they're thinking that that's where the pain is radiating from. But the truth is like maybe their gallbladder is imbalanced. And so what is interesting is then when the gallbladder is imbalanced, you'll feel it maybe on the top of your foot, where you think, I dropped something on my foot, water bottle or something. And it's really not. There's inflammation there from the gallbladder. So, I think that there's sometimes some discomfort. Oftentimes it's just very soothing to the body, where, you're connecting with your body. I've connected, we've connected. There's an atmosphere of peace. And it's an overall sense of well-being when my clients leave. My favorite, they first arrive, and if they've had a few sessions under their belt, there's this sigh that they release when they walk in. Before we gosh, half the battle's already won.
Well, and two, when you're massaging the ears and the hands, you really can feel the uric acid more in the feet, you said, right? So the ears and the hands, I felt like it really was like a lovely massage, and you're like obviously taking advantage, or utilizing is probably a better word, of the reflex points that are there to still massage the organs. But it's really not until you get to the feet that you're able to really like work out the uric acid. Did I say that right?
Yes. Well, that's for me personally. So
Okay.
you may visit another reflexologist that they thrive in working on the ears or the hands.
Okay.
But for me personally, part of it is just knowing who I am, and I'm very earthy, a very, I love the earth. That's my element. And so when I work on the feet, that's our root, right? That's our grounding. And so for me personally, when I get to the feet, it's like, yes, that's where I'm at home. But I love to work on the hands in children that their feet are too sensitive to touch, or some, my elderly clients, their feet are pretty sensitive. They've put some hard miles on them. And so sometimes it's more effective for me to dig into the hands and hit. Interesting. Our hands are more, I guess, desensitized because of, using them all day, every day. They're less sheltered, and so I can feel the uric acid, and I can tell you where I'm working in the hands as well, but it's just it's fitting for me to work on the feet the most. It's most comfortable for me.
I love that. And I love, like, it's like with anything, find your practitioner and find one that resonates in all of the ways, right? So yeah. Do you work on many children? That's fascinating. I don't know why I don't think of like working on children. When I interviewed about craniosacral or acupuncture, I don't think about children, but of course, children need healing as much as any of us do.
Yes. And they are so much easier to work on. They haven't built that intolerance or excuse me, rather tolerance, where they're just this hardened shells where we've just grown. And some of it's born from a place of necessity. We've had to develop resiliency, and so we as adults, we've had more experiences. So
Right.
these children are like just these precious little gems where I just barely touch them. They only need like a 30-minute session and they walk away feeling just, all that stagnant energy was lifted, removed. They respond quickly. Usually if there's some, tummy issues, we can get a bowel movement, and it's pretty awesome to work on kids. I love
I
working.
love that.
So we're teaching them that to connect with their bodies. I had a little one coming in that was struggling with anxiety and having these panic attacks. And we just worked through some breathing exercises and connecting her to her body and her belly breathing. And we called it hot cocoa breathing. It was just inhale the smell of cocoa and blow on it because it's hot. And she would tell her mom, I need to go do my hot cocoa breathing. And I think she came for 2 or 3 sessions, and it was, she walked away with a tool in her tool belt. And
Yeah.
I think she was 7 or 8 at the time. And I thought, my goodness, had I known these things when my boys, I have 20, my youngest is 21, almost 22. I didn't know these things then, and what tools I could have offered them that would be lifelong. So I love to work on these little ones because I feel like we're equipping them to
Yeah.
to honor their bodies, to
Yeah.
understand their bodies, to give them tools rather than, pop a pill and, medicate, or worse yet, self-medicate, because
Yeah.
they're living in a very, hard times.
Yeah. And I think that's well said. Even there's always things going on, but the world, like we just said, now is getting more, I don't know that it's more complex, but something. It feels just more technology, more
Mhm.
stimulants. That
Mhm.
I'm in a couple of moms groups on Facebook and just reading some of the things that the kids are going through. It's just heartbreaking. And my kids, are little. I have my 5-month-old and my 3.5-year-old. And I'm like,
Right.
oh,
Mhm.
can I go live
Mhm.
in a cave? Do they have to go to
Yeah.
school? And obviously that's not, but I think to your point, it's just equipping them with the tools that
Yeah.
they can surf the
Mhm.
waves, because there's going to be a lot
Yes.
of waves,
Yes, there is. Yep, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I love working on teenagers. Oh my goodness. They're so hungry for just being equipped. They just don't
Yeah,
know. And so, they're oftentimes we have these, acting out moments where they're frustrated and they're anxious and they're overwhelmed. And this is an opportunity for them to check in. We
right.
address those check engine lights, those areas where they're feeling vulnerable or pain, frustration, anger, and it's just a good release.
Oh, I love it so much. Yes, 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 yes. Um, how has reflexology changed how you look after yourself and self-care and staying balanced through all of the things?
Yeah, that's a work in progress.
Always,
Always.
always, right? Yes, I hear you.
Always.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I have a really good friend that holds me accountable. She's like, Shayleen, when is the last time you've done some self-care? Like, if the mothership sinks, the whole fleet goes down, right? And
Exactly.
so it's more comfortable for me as a practitioner to give and give and give and give, and then let my tank, run a little empty and the gas light's flashing and the check engine light is flashing. But I have a great chiropractor that I actually work in his office that I use as just a resource for, things that are happening in my body. But I see him. I think with reflexology, instead of it being there's this physical problem that's happening, I read a really great book years ago called God, Medicine, and Miracles, and the whole premise of the book is that we are intricately woven, connected, body, soul, and spirit. And so if one of those things are out of balance, then everything is kind of out of balance. And so I do try to be intentional, to drink enough water, to exercise. I love to do yoga, and that the very term yoga is to yoke, to unite, to bring intention of what's going on inward. um, I do think that just those small habits drinking lemon ginger water and, just those things are beneficial. But for me personally, it's to spend time in scripture. It's to spend time meditating. It's to spend time praying and to feed my spirit and my soul in healthy ways that way. Because then for me, that manifestation physically it's a natural reaction to that. Like if my temple is good, then my temple is good. So
yeah, no, I love that. Beautifully well said. And side note, I want your reading list. You need Oprah's reading list. I want Shayleen's reading list because all of these books that you've mentioned in the last 45 minutes, I'm like, sign me up, sign me up.
I have insatiable appetite for knowledge.
No, I hear you. You're a learner on the Strengths Finder. I know you're a learner because I'm the same way. And I think it's what led me to the podcast is like, I'm not the expert in anything, but I want to know about it all and learn.
Yes. Integrate. I had a girlfriend that was like, you love to integrate. And I thought, wow, I never had thought of that. But to incorporate and integrate tuning forks, essential oils, the hot towel, all of that into the reflexology. None of that was trained, but it was that I want to integrate. I want to learn. I want to integrate. And I want to help people be the best versions of themselves that they can be.
Yeah, you're amazing. I love it. So is there anything that you want to say before we go into how people find you and kind of wrap up?
Gosh, I can't think of anything. Like, I feel like we got to hit on all the points that I would be excited to talk about, the emotional healing, the spiritual aspect of it, and what I like to incorporate and do. I feel like we kind of hit on all that.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, you work a couple of days in Kellogg, right? And then a couple of days in Hayden. What's the best way for people to find you if they're interested in booking a session?
It would be through just text or phone call. Yeah,
okay,
my
telephone.
Yeah.
Are you okay if I put that on our show notes?
Yes.
Yeah, for people to reach out. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because I've already told so many people, I'm like, no, this is awesome. It was
a great experience. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. And you're awesome. So well, I always like to end with, by my definition of vibrant living, so glowing from the inside out, connected to our true selves. Who are a few people locally who have inspired you along the way?
Goodness. So I love Heidi. I feel like I missed my last acupuncture appointment. So she's with, the Ancient Spring, and that's how you and I connected.
Yeah.
But I feel when I receive acupuncture with Heidi, not only is it healing physically, but her sweet, tender spirit is just like a healing balm to my soul. Like I just enjoy being with her. So she is definitely one that I feel like is instrumental in my journey to health. I do see Dr. Bowman, the chiropractor. He's not local, but he's just about a 40-minute trip and he is, I use him as my doctor. I don't really have a doctor. I use my chiropractor. He's amazing. He's a wealth of information. He is trained in the Palmer method, which is the safest method. And he went to he's done an additional 4 years of training for holistic nutrition and just your overall wellness. And so I feel like when I sit down and converse with him or have questions, he is so well versed and knowledgeable and it's your whole health, it's your whole being. And like I said, we're so intricately woven that it's not just a physical manifestation. I want to know, 85% of disease is linked to stress. So what's going on in my body? And then I don't know if you're familiar with Cindy Ray and Happiness Hives. I don't know if you're familiar with her. Oh, she's a great asset. She does sound bowl healing, sound. So she'll, sessions where she is so passionate about seeing people healed through the foods that we eat and, just having people break free from the broken medical system that that there's that you and I talked about, where it's then you have these issues that are ensuing as a result of the medications that you're taking that we're trying to band-aid. And so she's super, super passionate about seeing people broken free. And so I just embrace her. She has a website that I just glean recipes and information from and attend her.
That.
Yeah.
And is the holistic spa that you first worked at, is that still in business?
It is not. She actually moved to Washington. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that seemed like a wealth of knowledge and inspiration for you as well. Like.
Yes. I'm so thankful that was my launching pad.
Yeah. Well, Shayleen, this has been so fun. My experience with you really did just open up a whole new world of being able to connect to your body and listen to her in a different way. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing your inspiration.